Hey there, and welcome back to the Hustle Machine podcast. I'm Jason, and that's Zach. And together we have over 20 years in the marketing and design business. And today we're talking about getting started.
We're back. And
we're
talk. Remember that scene of The Office where Jim and Pam do that, and then like she won't.
Yeah,
let
like
him
he can't. He doesn't talk the whole day.
Yeah.
Wait, no, that's not
that's
Jim. That's not Pam.
Jim
That's
and Pam.
I thought that was
No, sir.
Karen Filippelli.
I know. No. No, it's Jim and Pam. It is Jim and Pam.
Are you sure?
100%. Fact checker later.
I have to Google you right now.
Well, here we go. I'm gonna get into it, and then you
talk about the show, whatever, blah 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 podcast. I need to find out more information about this right now.
So we are talking about just get started. Just start.
Yeah.
I think when I originally pitched this idea, I said, "Why don't we call it Just Do It?" And then I was like, "Well, I don't want to get sued by Nike. We can't do that." But yeah, so oftentimes we see people who are passionate about something that they're doing, or they're an entrepreneur who have a lot of things that they're passionate about, and then they don't know where to begin. And a lot of entrepreneurs, like myself, and I know Jason can probably attest to this, we have this slight tendency of perfectionism that we wait until it's all just right, everything lines up perfectly, and then we'll do it. Then we'll get started. And if you do that, you'll never get started. It'll never happen. It just won't. It will have this problem where you wait and wait and wait, and then the time will never happen. Yeah. And then you continue to work somewhere where you're either in a very toxic hustle culture environment, or you're in a place you're just not passionate about. You're in a career or a position or an industry you have zero passion for.
Yeah.
And this life is short, right? This life is very short. Your career time frame of your career, when you start working when you're 18, or let's say when you get in your career, usually 22, 21, 22, till the time you retire is relatively a short period of time. So why not do something that you love to do, that you wake up every morning and you're ready to go. You're ready to
as soon as you
can.
And
And that's something that Jason and I dealt with for a very long time. We both came out of some cultures that were not healthy, and we've shared some of that on the show. So if you haven't heard those things, go back and listen to some of those. I think the very first episode we talk about that specifically. So go back, listen to that. You'll get a little bit more information about where we're coming from. But oftentimes what we see is a lot of people who just wait for those times, and then they never get to what they want to do. They never get to what they're passionate about doing.
Right.
And when Jason said at the beginning, just get started.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Just start doing something. And Jason, that's something you told me at one point. I was talking about, and I think you're already smirking a little bit because I think you know where I'm going with this. But I wanted to get
into... That's just
my face. Was it RLF, resting laughing face, or RSF would be resting smiling face?
Yeah.
So when I was getting into drawing on the iPad and trying to design some stuff from there, I suck at it. I really do. And you were like, you have to keep just going. Just get started. Just start doing it, and then you'll get to where you want to be eventually over time once you start going into it. And it's something that, really with this podcast, we talked about it for a very long time, and we kept talking about it. We had the idea, and then we just never did it. And then one day we're like, let's just go. Let's just record the first one. Let's see what happens.
Just get started.
And we we've re-recorded several of the first ones that we did because we're like, I like it, but it was very bumpy. It was very rough. But it was through that learning experience through those that we got started and we started creating what we wanted it to be eventually to where it is now. And so,
right. Well, so here, let me respond to that. Let me first say, sorry, my chest hurts a little bit. You were right about the office thing. I was combining the Jim and Pam Jinx and the Jim and Karen episode where he has to get her the hers chips. And, he goes on like the hunt through all the vending machines, and I was combining them in my head. So, but you were correct, sir.
Yeah. Whatever you have to, whatever.
I just said you were right. Just move on.
Cool. I will.
Do you know how much that hurt for me to tell you that you were right? Anyway,
100%. Very painful for you. I know. I get it.
Anyways,
go ahead.
This whole concept of this show started because we literally just had conversations right before this episode about this topic to two different people.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
You had a conversation to a friend of yours. I had a conversation with somebody else, and we were literally talking about when to start or how hard it is to actually just make that jump. So like in the conversation I was having, it was, they were worried about getting started. They've got a lot of things in place, but for them, it was like more of this like imposter syndrome kind of thing, where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm not a business person. Like, how do I know what the heck I'm supposed to do kind of thing, And for a lot of people, that's super scary. And my advice was, hey, that phrase, fake it till you make it. It's a popular phrase for a reason. It's a popular phrase for a reason because you do have to fake it till you. I didn't wake up and like, I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a podcaster. No, you just
sound like Forrest Gump when you said that. You sound like Forrest Gump when you said, I'm a businessman. But it's true though. Like you don't just you go to like you can go to college and you can do learning and you can extend your education into certain realms and spheres of learning, and you can learn things. But when we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and professionals about getting started and people who are trying to switch careers and pivot into new things and side hustles, people have like an interest level, right? And so like all that usually starts with like a hobby or an interest that they have, and they're like, oh, that might be fun. And then you get into it and you're like, I could turn this into like a thing. Like this could be a thing. But a lot of times it doesn't advance beyond like hobby level or just a thought, just the thought that, oh, that could be fun, because it's like, where do I get started? There's all this pressure to launch and be amazing from the start. And if like what you said, if you're looking to be amazing from the first step that you make into the public with your business venture, sorely mistaken.
Yeah.
There's no one that does that.
I mean, if you're a large company with capital investors and funding and, rounds of funding and stuff like that, and you're moving in that direction. Yeah, sure. But that's not the majority of people. The majority of small business people are 1 and 2 people starting up a business, getting it started. And it runs that way for a really long time. It's never going to be something big. It's just like a little side hustle that might turn into a full-time business, or might stay a side hustle for the remainder of your life. And that's fine. But unless you actually start and jump, I don't know, a lot of people, those thoughts just live inside your head, or it might just stay like a little hobby that you're doing in your garage or in your spare bedroom, So, at the end of the day, you just got to get started. Just do it.
Yeah. Another thing I hear sometimes is, well, I don't have the confidence. Well, you do have the confidence. There's confidence there. Everybody has some confidence. Even the people who say I have low confidence. That's not true. The conversation I had earlier today was with somebody, and they said, well, I don't know. I feel like I'm lacking the confidence in it. And as we talked, they started describing all the things that they've done and like all these things. And I was like,
yeah.
You remember when you said you didn't have confidence? The stuff you just said, like,
yeah,
is not normal. Like the normal person is not going to go and do the things you just did. So you have confidence. You're just looking at it from a different point of view, I think. So I think that, to your point, when the person you spoke to said, "Oh, I'm not a business person," or I like an imposter syndrome. Yeah, there's always like a sense of faking it. But the thing is like, you don't have to get started and it be exactly the way you want it in the long term. Just put something together, let a couple people see it, get their feedback. People you think would be into what you're doing, of like, this is what I'm looking to create. Yeah. This is what I'm looking to do with it. What do you think about this? This is what I'm thinking about charging for this. This is what I'm thinking about how to monetize this. Would you pay for that?
Yeah.
And just see what they say, and then fine tune it, and then do it again.
Yeah. You have to breathe life into it. You have to breathe life into it, or else it's just gonna die. And then you're just gonna be stuck thinking, man, I really should have done that thing. Especially when you see somebody else doing it.
And you go, gosh, I could do that so much better. Like, yeah. Or you see people who go, you look at stuff and you go, this stuff is not that great. But people are eating it up. Like, what in the world? Yeah. What am I missing here? I could do this, and this. Okay, then go do it. Go and do it. If it's something that you like really, really enjoy and want to be really good at, then just go and do it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a million website development companies, there's a million marketing companies doing what we do. And we could have easily just said, well, this company is better than we are. There's no way someone's going to pay us when they can go get them. Yeah, but maybe they don't want them. Maybe they want us. And once we started putting ourselves out there, we started to notice that, okay, this could be reality. Like this could be a thing. We could do this. Yeah. Same thing with this podcast. Like, who's going to listen to two guys talk about hustle culture and entrepreneurship? Like, people don't know who we are. They're not. I wouldn't listen to it. Yikes. Okay.
No, I definitely would listen to it. I might even be on a show with you. Do you want to be a show?
Let's do it.
Let's just get started.
Let's just get started, man. But honestly, that's how this whole thing kind of worked itself out. And so, with the person I was just discussing today, it's not an anomaly, because I mean, you said you had that same conversation with somebody else in a different conversation with somebody completely different. Yeah. And I think that we can look at a million reasons why we can't do something. We can continue to keep going through and go, well, we can't do this because we don't have this, and this. Well, I can't shoot these videos to create my courses because I don't have this microphone. Okay. What microphone can you afford? What could you do? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, start there. See how far you can go with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, unless you get started and finally jump over that line. I mean, for those people who are just catching our story now, I mean, we were a side hustle for 6 years before we jumped full time, something like that.
7, I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long time. That's a long time we were started, but we never made that final jump to finally get started as full time. It took a lot of work to get there, and it took a lot of willpower to make that big jump. And it's scary, and you really get in your head a whole lot. But when it comes to feeling like an imposter, or just feeling like you don't know where to start or how to start, the thing, it's okay. So this is going to sound so stupid, but you just have to start. Just find a place, because you're not an entrepreneur until you are. You're not a business person until you are. You're not.
Yeah. Well, I like that.
You're not a creator until you are. You don't you're not that thing that you want to be until you make it a reality. And for so many people, it's crushing to me that it's such a hard thing to get started, because the thing that you want to start for so many people is the thing that brings you total joy, the thing that makes you feel good, the thing that for a lot of creators and makers that we talk to, like they want to create and make stuff because one, they find joy in creating, and two, they find joy in knowing that people are enjoying their creations, right? Like they find joy in people finding joy in what they've done. And I feel like would you say that you're robbing yourself of your own joy by not getting started? I mean, I'm not trying to like shame at all. I'm just trying to be like very real and say like, just get started. Like just go on to whatever service and incorporate your business, or go down the street and get a flyer on how to open up a business checking account at the bank. Like just pick a place, start doing research. But so many people stay paralyzed. And like, I think you started this at the very beginning of this conversation. You were dancing around this topic of analysis paralysis, right? And so it's just like, oh, okay, what do I have to do? Like, I don't know what forms I have to do. Like, what do I have to fill out with the state? Where do I need to submit this paperwork? Do I need like professional certification or licenses to do this? Like, that's part of getting started. But until you actually start doing it and get out of your own head, you're not actually making it happen. So just pick a place and jump, right?
Yeah.
Just
and I think it's important to talk about it as well. Yeah. Talk it into existence. You know, one of the things that I mentioned to this person, they were talking about a gym, and they were like talking about how one of the things they liked about one of their previous careers was having people underneath them that was helping them get things done. And they were like, right now it's just me. And I said, talk about how you want to talk. Everybody you talk to about this thing, say, I'm looking to grow a team. I'm looking to grow a team. Because as soon as you start to do that, now people are going to go, you know what? I know somebody who likes the same thing here, and they had a similar idea. I think you guys would work well together. And then now you've got another conversation going with that person of saying, okay, now I'm not by myself. Now I have a team. Now it's two of us. Keep talking about it. Keep talking about it as if it's a thing. So it's the same thing. Like, find what you're passionate about, what you love doing, and you're probably already doing it. How can I make money off of it? Yeah. And then, because I know somebody that enjoyed making pottery and making things out of clay, and she worked in a 9-to-5, but this is what she liked to do, and she would do this on the side for fun. And then one day she said, I want to figure out how I can make money doing this. Excuse me. And so she started an Instagram account and started posting the process of her making stuff and product of those things, and then just doing all these hashtags. And all of a sudden people are like, I'd buy that. That's awesome. Can you make me one? And then all of a sudden she started like, yeah, sure. And then now that's what she does. That's her business. She makes things. And so if she didn't just go, she could have been like, oh, nobody's going to buy this stuff. I just make it for myself. I just do it because it's relaxing. Well, if it's relaxing, then why would you want to do it all the time? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So,
I mean, that was for me when I started back in the illustration game several years ago. I did it because one, I wanted to challenge myself to do something, to pick up where I left off several years ago on something that I quit. Yeah. So I had carried this with me. I still felt bad. Like 5 years after I had given this up initially, I still felt kind of like bummed by it. I was like, man, I'm so bummed that never like paid off. Like I never actually found success there. And so I started again as, just like a pet project. Let's see if I'm any good. And then, I found success the whole thing, another one of the reasons I started is because I find joy in drawing and creating. Like it soothes me, right? Like what you were just saying, like I'll just make this jewelry for myself because it soothes me. Like I draw almost nightly because I like it.
Yeah.
Not all of my designs I submit to, for work, for clients, for print somewhere. Sometimes it's just a drawing that I make. And because I enjoy it, and I've also been able to turn that into a lucrative source of income. And until I submitted that first design, it wasn't a reality until I took the designs on this and submitted them into the world, until I actually just got started. I made an account, figured out what I needed to do to submit the stuff, and got started. It wasn't a thing yet. And I want people to have like a thing. Like if something's going to bring you joy, don't deny yourself of that. Don't deny yourself that joy that you could have. And so, I mean, let's do this. Let's do an exercise. You ready? Let's do an exercise, not like a physical exercise, but a mental exercise. Stretch out, get those hammies.
No, I was doing the arm circles. Apparently that's a thing. So.
Yeah. Okay. We were worked out. Okay. We stretched. So here's the exercise. Ask yourself and say this out loud. Okay. What's the worst that could happen?
That's exactly where I was about to go. That is exactly what I was about to say to you.
What's the worst that could happen?
That's the thing I told this person. I said,
yeah.
What's the worst thing? What's the absolute worst thing that could happen? Okay. Yeah. It could fail. Okay. If it failed, what would happen? Well, you could go back to what you were doing. I played when we went into full time into this thing. That was one of the things I said to myself was, what's the worst that could happen? Well, this could fail.
Yeah.
I would have to go get another job. I could get another job. I know enough people that would hire me. It may not be what in the industry that I'm in, but okay, it's temporary anyways. So
yeah,
I could make things. If I had to get 2 jobs to cover my bills, I would do that, and everything would be fine. I would get myself straightened back out, and then I would keep going.
For people who want to listen to more about that, you can go back and listen to our episode on. Don't we have it? Yeah, I think our episode 3 is called "The Time Is Now." It's about understanding the time to make a transition, kind of this whole transition that we're talking about now. So go back and listen to that. Continue.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, I come from when I first started freelancing, I had a business. I tried to find the right partnership. I talked to like 2 other friends before me and you.
Whoa,
that
I'm your third pick.
Wait, no, man. At the time, we weren't.
That's not what you just said. You talked to 2 other people.
No.
I'm the third choice to start a business with.
No. Let me point out what I actually mean. We had already been talking.
The room is spinning.
We had already been talking. We had already been talking about it. We had already been talking about doing a business together before me and you had ever started anything. But here's the thing. I'm glad I didn't, because I see that it wasn't it wouldn't have been a good partnership anyway. So I did it on my own.
Are you trying to tell me that I'm better than those other guys?
You're way better. You're way better, man.
Oh.
Okay. If I could pat you on the back, I would, but I can't. Just here we go.
Okay. Crisis averted. I'm hold on a second. Here we go. Hold on. Wait.
No, lean over. There you go.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
For the people watching, it was slightly funny.
Slightly awkward what it was. So I did it on my own.
Yeah.
And I remember there was often times where I would sit at my desk and I would go, okay, I have no business. I have no business. I have no business doing this. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I going to do? You know what? My desk is a little disjointed right now, so I'm going to straighten my desk. So I straighten my desk. Okay, now my desk is straight. All right, cool. Still no business. So I don't know. how do I get business? I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember it was like a come to Jesus moment with my wife. And she's like, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing this right now. I was like, ugh, I think you're right. Oh man, I had no idea what I was doing. I was so overwhelmed, didn't know where to begin. And then somebody would like, I'm just putting stuff on social media. Like I saw one the other day. It was like meetings. When will it stop? And I'm like, I know good and well if that guy did not have meetings back then. So what I was doing is like drumming up stuff like, oh, he's really busy. He must be doing really well. Hey, would you like? I had no idea what I was doing. And I could look at that as a failure. There was a period of my life where I was like, I feel like a failure. That was a joke. I'm not cut out for it. I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be real. There's days, even with Market House, as successful as it is, and the success we've seen with it and the success we're continuing to see with it, there's days where I go, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like,
yeah.
Do you ever feel that way? Like there's moments where you go, I have no idea what I'm doing. This is so stressful. I have no idea what I'm doing. I feel like I'm way on over my head. Then something happens.
Yeah.
You hit a mark where you go, no, I can do it. I can break this down into what I can do to get to like your point. Break it down. You're looking at the end goal and going, how do I get there? Without looking at all the steps, the small steps, even the small ones that have to be done. Go and do them. Go and do those small steps. You don't have to be doing it for 8 hours. If you get to a point where you're like, gosh, I feel so like my brain just doesn't want to do this, but I feel like I need to. No, stop what you're doing. Don't do any more on it. Stop what you're doing. Walk away from it. And if you have a whole week where you don't do anything with it, it doesn't mean you've given up on it. It just means that you need a minute, and that's fine. Take a minute. And that right there, it ties back to the hustle culture, because hustle culture would say, no, you keep pushing, you knuckle down and bear down and you keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if your brain's telling you and your body's telling you, take a second, just take a minute, regroup, refocus, and go after it again when you have the energy.
The whole concept of where we come from with Hustle Machine, it's a tongue-in-cheek poke. The whole name of it is, and the whole focus of what we do is a tongue-in-cheek poke at hustle culture. And our whole philosophy is you can hustle, you can work hard, and you should work hard, but you need to maintain focus, and you need to maintain focus on the things that matter, and the things that bring you joy, and find a balance. Don't run yourself ragged. Don't die trying to achieve a goal when you can put in a good day and be done. Right. So like, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to work today, and then I'm going to punch my clock, and I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it again tomorrow. That's hustling. You don't have to hustle till you're dead. And it's about finding balance. And, that's what we want. That's what we want to talk about. And that's what we've been talking about. And that's what we're going to continue to talk about. And we invite people to go to the Facebook community that we're starting to build and have that conversation there. Are you a side hustler or an entrepreneur or a small business owner or whatever? Like, do you have a thing that you're doing or want to do and you're having a hard time getting started? Tell that story. Just come over and talk about it. And, come to the community and just start having the conversation. And hopefully one of the community members and even Zach and I can talk to you, because so much progress happens when you finally get started. When you finally start having a conversation, things happen, things change, things can get better. But if you live with fear, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, when you're dealing with all of these like worries and stressors and fears alone, because so many entrepreneurs are flying solo, when you're dealing with all of this alone, how can you ever expect to grow, to move on. And
Yeah.
that's why we invite you to join the community that we're trying to create around growth and being able to just get started in a safe place where you can talk about fears and pressures and get insight and understanding and compassion. Like, that's what the business world should be. It should not be dog eat dog. It should not be this constant struggle to scratch your way to the top. It should be about growth and community, and that's what we're doing, right?
Yeah, and I think that entrepreneurship, well, you look at entrepreneurs and you say, well, those are my competitors. No, get that out of your mind.
There's more than enough out there for literally everyone.
For you to make a living, for sure. Yeah. And there's going to be some that are better than you and some that are not. And that's okay. And some people aren't cut out to be running businesses where there's 150, 200 people in the company. Some people are just completely content with just 2 or 3 people working with them or working for themselves, just by themselves.
Right.
So to your point, there's enough fish in the sea in order for you to create a business and be happy. And I think that if you're not happy with what you're doing, now's the time to make a shift. Just make a shift.
Yeah.
And yeah, it pains me. Yeah, it pains me to think about people who we have such a heart for entrepreneurs, and having conversations with them brings me joy. I know it brings you joy of pulling them out from when they're at their darkest of like wanting to give up, or having zero idea of what they want to do or how they're going to do it. Just start going with something. Just start it. Just start doing something.
So here's your homework until we meet again. Get out a piece of paper and write down 2 things. Number 1, define your joy.
Yeah.
And number 2 is list out what's the worst that could happen.
Yeah.
So you're looking at what your joy is and what's the worst that could happen in pursuing that joy. And I guarantee you that a lot of you are going to be surprised in what you're finding is coming out of your head, because the list for what's the worst that could happen. I mean, things can go wrong, but what's the worst that could happen if you give yourself 3 months, 6 months to fail spectacularly? What's the worst that could happen? Go out with a bang.
Yeah.
Right. So what's the worst that could happen if you were able to fully devote yourself to this goal? Define that, and then go over to the community and share it if you want, or just keep it to yourself. Have a conversation and talk to like a good friend or a mentor about it. Talk about it, but get it out, because to me that's getting started. Defining your joy and then defining what's the worst that could happen. To me, that's step 1. Yeah. Get started.
Well, and then you can even take that a step further. Start listing out the small things that you could do to get started.
Yeah. Okay, that's number 3. How to get then next steps.
Yeah. And write those out, and don't look at them as I got to do all of them all at once. Just start slow and build upon it, because it's like that snowball effect. Was it Dave Ramsey talks about the snowball effect for getting out of debt? You can do the same thing here. You start taking the small things that you could do and build upon them to the point where now you've got a massive snowball running down the hill that's hard to stop, and you're going to go and make it happen. That's exactly what we say on it's in our intro. It's what we say. You're going to make it happen. Yeah. And so, I think if you go back to episode 3, now's the time.
Yeah.
So you just have to push the fear to the side and realize that most of it's all in your head anyway, and go for it.
Just do it. I mean, just get started.
Whoa. Yeah. Nike can sponsor this if they want.
Hashtag not sponsor yet.
Shit. Oh my gosh.
Okay, guys.
Okay.
Until we meet some men. What? Until we meet again. Until we meet again. This is.
I'll do this next.
Podcast.
I'll do it the next. I'll do it next
Okay.
week, next episode.
Okay. Until we meet again. This is the Hustle Machine Podcast, and go make it happen. See you guys
Later.